The chains go on at dawn. You're 17 years old, and 3 days ago you were free. Now you stand in a market in Rome, naked, as men examine your teeth and muscles like livestock. 1 in 3 people in this city is a slave, between 5 and 10 million across the entire empire, and you've just become one of them. You have no rights, no protection, no way out. Your master can beat you, sell you, work you to death, or kill you for entertainment, and the law won't stop him. How do you survive this? What happens when survival isn't enough? You remember the battle. Your city fell 3 weeks ago. The Roman legions broke through the walls, and everyone who survived became property. The soldiers marched you south in chains with thousands of others. Children, mothers, warriors, it didn't matter. After the Great Jewish Revolt, 97,000 people were enslaved in a single campaign, and after the Third Macedonian War, 150,000 men, women and children were sold into bondage. You're just a number in Rome's war machine. At the auction, a merchant bought you for 800 denarii. He examined your hands, decided you could work, and now you belong to him. Your property under Roman law with no legal personhood, no right to own anything, no right to testify unless you're tortured first. You're 17, and unless something changes, you'll die as someone's property. The iron brand on your shoulder marks you as his. You sleep on a stone floor in a room near the storage shed. 3 other slaves share the space, and the smell of grain and oil fills the air because your quarters are always near the supplies, never near the family. Roman masters made a decided effort to keep slaves separate from free men and women. You're close enough to serve, far enough to be forgotten. Your master gave you 1 tunic and 1 cloak. You get new shoes once every 2 years, and mail. Slaves like you can't wear togas, the garment that marks a Roman citizen. Every piece of clothing reminds you what you're not. The rules are simple: obey or suffer. If you run, they'll brand your forehead with the letters fur for thief, or burn you with hot iron. And if they catch you again, you'll be beaten with iron rods, slowly tortured, or killed as an example. Some slaves wear metal collars with tags that say "Hold me, lest I flee, and return me to my master." You've seen them. The collar stays on until you die or your master decides otherwise, and right now neither seems likely. Your jobs change daily depending on what he needs. Today you haul water, tomorrow you might work the fields, or carry goods to market, or clean the latrines. Slaves do everything from cooking and mining silver to working as accountants, smiths, executioners, and fighting fires. The work never stops, and neither does the fear. You get 4 or 5 modii of grain each month, which you grind into flour and bake into bread. That's it. 1 sextarius of oil per month, 1 modius of salt per year, and a small amount of wine with extra rations during festivals. No meat, rarely vegetables unless you gather them yourself from the edges of the property. When your master's family eats, you watch from the corner, and when they finish, you take whatever scraps remain on their plates. Sometimes there's nothing left. You work hungry, and hunger makes you weak, but weakness gets you punished. So you push through the pain because stopping means the whip. Agricultural slaves like you receive more flour during summer when the work is hardest, and you need the extra wine just to survive the heat. On good days, you find wild fruit near the road. On bad days, you eat your ration of dry bread and pretend it's enough. It's never enough, but you've learned to live with the hollow ache in your stomach because complaining changes nothing. You saw what happened to Marcus last week. He talked back to the overseer just once, and they hung him up by his wrists with stones tied to his feet for 3 hours. Beatings with sticks and scourging with whips are so common that many slaves stop caring, but the pain never really fades. The whip has metal hooks that tear skin down to the bone, and you've watched men scream until their voices broke. Your master has absolute power over you. He can subject you to corporal punishment, sexual exploitation, torture, and summary execution, and during the Republic, masters could kill slaves without any legal consequences. Later laws tried to limit this, but slaves still couldn't file lawsuits, couldn't testify without being tortured first, and could be burned alive for testifying against their masters. The law doesn't protect you because you're not a person under the law. If your master dies under suspicious circumstances, every slave in the household can be tortured and executed unless you prove you tried to defend him. When a former consul named Lucius Pedanius Secundus was murdered by one of his slaves in the year 61, the Senate demanded the execution of all 400 of his household slaves. 400 people killed because one man struck back. The message was clear. Your life means nothing compared to theirs, and one mistake, one moment of defiance can end in crucifixion, hanging, being fed to wild animals in the arena, or being worked to death in the mines. You live every day knowing this. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and before we continue, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel. There's one path to freedom, but it's narrow and most never reach it. Your master allows you to hold a peculium, a small fund of money or property that legally belongs to him but functions as yours. Every coin you save, every favor you earn goes into this fund, and if you gather enough, you can negotiate to buy your freedom. The problem is the cost. One physician paid 50,000 sesterces for his freedom, a fortune that takes decades to accumulate, and your master can take it back any time he wants because it's still his property. Even if you save enough, Roman law says you must be 30 years old or older to buy your freedom. You're 17, 13 years of survival, of perfect behavior, of saving every scrap while your master could sell you, beat you, or kill you at any moment. One inscription in a museum mentions a slave who died at 28, just 2 years before he should have been manumitted at 30. He was so close and it didn't matter. If you somehow reach 30, if you somehow save enough, if your master agrees, you still don't become a full Roman citizen. You become a freedman with restrictions, a client of your former master, barred from public office, still bound to serve him. Freedom isn't really freedom, it's just a different kind of chains. Some former slaves choose another path. They volunteer to become gladiators, swearing an oath to be burned by fire, bound by chains, beaten, and to die by the sword. Gladiators are treated like investments, receiving food and medical care and specialized training, but they're still property, still forced to fight. You've thought about it because at least in the arena, you'd have a weapon in your hand and a chance to die on your feet instead of your knees. But you're not there yet. You keep saving your peculium, coin by coin, hoping you survive long enough to use it. You've heard the stories about Spartacus. He was a slave trained in a gladiator school, who led a revolt that grew to 70,000 slaves and supporters. From 73 to 71, before the Common Era, his army defeated the Roman military 3 times. 3 times. For 2 years, slaves fought back and won, and for those 2 years, every slave in Rome believed freedom was possible. Spartacus fell in the final battle, wounded by a spear thrust to the thigh, and he went down on one knee, held his shield in front of him, and fought until he and a great number of his followers were encircled and killed. Crassus crucified 6,000 captured slaves along 350 miles of the Appian Way from Capua to Rome, and their bodies hung there for months as a warning. You've seen the crosses still standing along that road, weathered and empty now, but still there, still reminding you what happens when slaves dare to resist. The rebellion failed, but it changed things. Concerns over future uprisings prompted some legal action to encourage better treatment of slaves, though in practice most masters still did whatever they wanted. You think about Spartacus when the work gets unbearable, when the overseer's whip cuts your back, when you're so tired you can barely stand. He fought and lost, but he fought, and that means something. You're 19 now, 2 years as a slave, and you've saved 37 denarii in your peculium. It's not nearly enough, and you have 11 years before you're even allowed to try to buy your freedom. Most slaves never accumulate enough, most die in servitude, and skilled urban slaves have the best chance while manual laborers like you rarely escape. In Rome, as many as 300,000 to 350,000 of the 900,000 inhabitants are slaves, and across the empire, estimates suggest between 5 and 10 million people live in bondage. The system runs on your suffering, on the suffering of millions like you, and it won't change, because Rome depends on it. You might survive to 30, you might save enough, you might convince your master to let you go. But most don't, and the odds say you won't either. Every day you wake up in chains is another day you didn't die, and in Rome, for a slave, that's the only victory you're allowed to have. You've seen what it really meant to be a Roman slave, not the sanitized version, but the truth. Most never made it out. What do you think you would have done in their place? Let us know in the comment section. Thank you, and see you in the next one.